Right, everybody, what's going on? Kobra Trading here, back for another Friday Bitcoin analysis. I'm going to be talking a little quiet today. My daughter just went down for a nap, so I'm trying to do this quick while I have the time. Let's jump right into it. All right, let's go ahead and make this full screen for you guys real quick. All right, so weekly chart, you guys know that I always like to go ahead and try and look at the big picture first. So this is pretty much what's been going on. I've got our major support and resistance lines here. We did bounce off of major what was support, and we we broke down at the end of September when we had that huge massive drop, and that has now been acting as very strong resistance, trying to come back up. Let's go ahead and take a look at our daily chart here. So before, on our daily chart, we pretty much had this range down here that I was playing for quite some time. I don't really have too much information to be doing a count on a larger time frame scale now. However, after our big drop and we went sideways, we had one little one more move down. It was about $3,000 actually. It was quite a large move from here to here, and we ended up breaking through prior support, which was around $7,800, and then testing all the way down at about $7,300, and we really springboarded right on out of there, and we actually made a $3,000 move all the way up to $10,500. We wicked all the way up there, and then our first candle had actually closed right up here at $9,500. So since then, we've kind of been under this. We've been using this bar that I've had for quite some time that I talked about in my last video as very strong resistance. That still holds true, and we have yet to come up and obviously, test something up near the 11K region. But in order for something very drastic not to happen long term to Bitcoin, I do really think that we need to start pushing up and testing and closing above these levels at 11K. And it's really not that far off now, guys. We're hovering down at around 8K, between 7,700 and 8,700 in that $1,000 range for practically the better part of 3 weeks. And now that we've broken out of that range, I think that what's happening now is we're consolidating on these larger time frames. We're consolidating here, and we're probably going to push sideways for a month or two or so, maybe just a couple weeks if we're lucky, and then come up and start testing these levels again. So this was a very good signal of levels that we can be testing up in these areas, all the way up to, this was a lot of liquidation, so I'm not going to count this first wick in this, but from 9,500 all the way up to, like almost 10,000, that's a really good range, upper range for us to be testing right now. So if you go ahead and you look at the 4-hour chart, this was the range that I was trading for a very long time, just playing swing lows and swing highs, just scalping this entire thing. That's normally where I make the majority of my money. However, this has been exceptionally boring so far in our new range. So I did draw some new range lines here for us. Oops. I did draw some new range lines here for us just so that we can have kind of a better idea of where we are, what the support and resistance levels are. Obviously, none of these lines are going to be exact like to the dollar. It's all circumstantial and everything, but for the most part, this is where our support and resistance lines have been so far, the major areas that I've been watching, and we have been really, really stuck down here in this bottom range area. And literally now for the better part of 2 days, almost 3 days now, we've just been completely going sideways. Lots of wicks up and down, liquidating people. There was a lot of issues this week with exchanges. There was issues with Coinbase. Today there was issues with BitMEX. Either someone got fired or their Twitter account got hacked. We're still not really 100% sure on what really went on with that. Binance, a whole bunch of issues with Binance was going on, and there was a whole bunch of emails, I guess, that were hijacked or whatever. They were able to steal a whole bunch of email accounts and stuff. So there's been a lot of stuff going on with a lot of these exchanges, and it's kind of bothersome. But honestly, at the end of the day, it's crypto. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in the crypto community that's shady. There's a lot of scams. There's a lot of fake people. There's a lot of so-called guru chartists that are making these ridiculously wild predictions that are just making money off of their advertising and stuff. And at the Edge group and me personally, like we don't really do any of that. The most that I'll ever do is like shill a referral link or talk about the group that I participate in that I make calls with and stuff like that. And that's about it. Like, we're doing a better job as a crypto community policing ourselves, but I did want to address real quickly that issue of what was going on today and yesterday with a lot of the exchanges, shit getting liquidated for no reason, emails hijacked, all of that fun stuff that I just mentioned. So looking at this 4-hour chart, if we take a look at our indicators, they are looking up, I guess. So normally when the price moves flat and the RSI moves up, normally that's considered bullish, but honestly, it's Bitcoin, and this does not look very promising to me at all. We've literally just been going in the same like $200 range here for like 3 days. It's a very, very small range for Bitcoin to be in. We haven't had this small of a range since this little area back here, and this was only 1 day. And this area right here, this was about 2 days. We came from this range. This was about 2 or 3 days. So normally we stay in these little two to $400 ranges for like maybe no longer than like a week or so. I think the longest one that I've ever seen us be in was way back. Let me zoom way out here and go back to last year. This was absolute killer. Last year, almost a year to the date, in 2 weeks, that will be like the anniversary of our ridiculous like capitulation drop that we had last year on November 14th. But this was also very, very bad. This was pretty much a $100 range here. This lasted for a week and a half. And then this was another, what is this, 65 to 62. This was another $300 range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. About 8 days we were in this. So this was a week and a half. This was about 8 days, 9, 10 days or whatever as well. So, I mean, if you sum the entire thing up, this entire range, 61 to 65, a $400 range, we were in this entire thing for the better part of 2 weeks. Normally that doesn't happen, and if it does happen, normally we see a really big move afterwards. That's also synonymous with volume as well. So how many indicators do I have? 3. I don't know if that one counts. 4th. Let's go ahead. I'm going to throw on our regular volume indicator. There was something that I wanted to have you guys pay attention to, and I am going to turn on the MA line for this down here. So normally what ends up happening in terms of volume, I'll just go ahead and make it match just for now, just for shits and giggles, right? Okay. So normally what ends up happening with our volume indicator down here is, and if you don't pay for TradingView, you can't get the volume profile. This is one of the main reasons that I do pay for TradingView, that and so that I can get that extra 4th indicator or whatever. But normally what ends up happening is on the daily chart, we'll see these areas of like, it's easier to spot on the daily chart, I'll be honest. Normally we'll see a whole bunch of days where we just won't have any volume, and then the volume bar will pop up above the that moving average on the channel. So like, the volume dropped off here, then we had 1, 2, 3, 4, and then bam, on the 5th day we got a huge pump of volume. Volume dropped off for 2 days. We got another big volume pop here. This was probably liquidations though. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. So almost 2 weeks. This was 13 days. We got a big pop of volume here. And that was also probably liquidations or futures closings. It looks like it was on the 19th of the month, so I'm pretty sure that's the CME futures close date. So we got a really weird wick candle there. So that doesn't really count, I guess, because it's just futures liquidation. So basically 2 weeks, and then boom, we got a huge volume spike. So what I'm trying to illustrate here is normally these volume bars, they'll be staying below or just at the MA volume line right before a really big move happens. So that's what happened here. We were pretty much, the volume dropped off. We were really low volume, low volume, low volume for, the better part of, a few, probably a week and a half or 2 weeks or whatever it was here. And then we got that last drop down. We consolidated. We got the volume bar. It literally just tipped the top of the MA line. And then right after that, bam, and we got a huge spike up. Now, obviously there's no way, this volume indicator, I mean, it's not necessarily a lagging indicator, but this doesn't update nearly as clearly as other indicators do, so it's kind of hard to tell that. But just in general, if you keep your eye on it and say, oh, look at that, we've been under the MA volume line for like a week and a half now. That's normally what tells me, okay, it might be time to start thinking about getting into a position. So right now, I've just been scalping very small positions, high leverage, small time frames on like the 15-minute charts and stuff like that. And it's been even difficult to do yesterday and today because of how much low volume we've had. We really, really dropped off very, very far here from this initial first push up. And what's happening now is obviously you can tell that these volume bars dropped below our volume MA line, and now we're just sitting below, going lower, going lower. So, maybe we get a little spike up or here and there, something that looks like this area over here. But in general, we're not really moving in price very much. So this is something to keep an eye on. Normally, the longer that this goes on with the volume bars being under the MA line, normally the closer that you're getting to having some type of big price move. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on the volume very, very closely. If you want, there's another way that you can look at this as well. If you get rid of this and you actually go and you turn on your, this is supposed to be an analysis. I'm almost doing a tutorial. If you turn on your OBV indicator, why can't I add, turn off my MAs. Well, before I do that, let's go ahead and look at our MAs. We did actually get a bearish cross here on the daily chart. So that's not necessarily good, but it's not necessarily bad either, because we've just been kind of holding this price. This 50 MA line on the daily chart has been very, very important. We have tested this 3 times now, which is a little concerning to me, but I definitely think that a move down would definitely constitute us testing this major level of support in here between 8,500 and about 9,000 or so, 88 to 85 or so in here, which would be our 200 MA. So let's go ahead and take that off real quick, and we'll go ahead and add our on balance volume here. And that's another way that you can tell is with the on balance volume. So there isn't really a zero line that you can draw with this. However, if you zoom out, like on the weekly chart, you can kind of tell and get a bigger idea for like what's really going on with the volume. Obviously, we had a lot of adoption here and a lot more trading, so the volume goes up. We kind of leveled off, because there was more adoption, there's just more volume in the market. So now there's more people in the market and stuff, and here the volume just really, really tanked off on the weeks. It's very, very clearly visible here. So that's another way that you can kind of, just analyze that if you'd like. So on balance volume and the regular volume bar MA line, very, very important to keep your eyes on. Coming back here to this 4-hour chart, like I said, we've really just been going sideways. There really isn't too much for me to update on. Even our oscillator here, it's just switching back and forth from, it's below the zero line, and we're just switching back and forth from bullish to bearish, indication here. So there isn't really, this is literally no trend right here. When you see shit like this is just no trend. There's no trend here. Very, very sideways. It's not even choppy. Normally choppy markets are bad, but I personally feel like this is even worse than choppy markets. So if we go down and we really want to look at this on a 1-hour chart, you can see this is what I was mentioning on Coinbase. Some people said that they couldn't see this on their chart. And there's just a major gap here, which is weird for Coinbase because this isn't the futures. I'm looking at the Coinbase chart here, and this isn't the futures chart. So for there to be a major gap in 2 candles like this is really weird. Normally you only see stuff like this on futures charts and markets that actually have opening and closing times. So it was very, very weird for me to see something like this, especially on the Coinbase exchange, because Bitcoin's 24/7, it doesn't close. And this went from 90, what was this? opened or closed 92.39, opened at 92.07. So it wasn't a crazy drop in price, but it was about 30 bucks. There's just like a $30 missing area here, which is really weird. And I've been looking at this closely, and if you actually draw a line over, this is the area that we've been actually using as heavy resistance right now, which is, I just feel like that's really weird. I'm actually just going to draw a rectangle here, highlighted in red for you guys and for myself. That way I can use it as a reference. Let's go ahead and we'll move this to red. So this little gap right here, we've been using this as very, very heavy resistance. We've broken into this is like our immediate resistance level, which also lines up with my main yellow dashed line. And, once we broke down through this, we tested it, got rejected, tested it, really tested it, and then tested the main resistance area up here and immediately got rejected. We closed one candle inside because we had some good bullish momentum here, and then we immediately got rejected from our main line and from this area, and immediately rejected again. Every time that we wick up into this area, we've been getting rejected very heavily. And even now on this candle that's about to close on the 1 hour chart in another 15 minutes, we're getting another bearish candle, and it looks like we're probably going to end up closing below this again, which leads me to think that we're probably going to end up heading down, back into the, the $9,100, the low $9,100 range. So very, very weird here that happened on Coinbase. If you look at other charts, that gap does not appear. So that was just something kind of weird, something to watch out for. I don't know if that was maybe when Coinbase was having their issues or whatever, but there was definitely a big little $30 gap there or whatever. So as I get more information, I mean, I would love to trade this, but this is just so indecisive and so choppy. There's no trend here whatsoever. I can't really make a call on this right now. If I wanted to, and I was going to get in a position, I don't even know what the hell that is. If I was going to be getting into a position off of this, I mean, personally, it's super risky, but I'd probably take a long, and I would just have longs laddered down to like 9,000, and then with a tight stop at like 89.50, like right where this bottom right where these bottom candles were wicking into. And besides that, I can't really, for scalping targets, I mean, I guess if you were going to go long here, target wise, is this reverse? Let's reverse this for the upside here. Target wise, if we zoom in here, and I was going to go long, in the $9,000, $9,100 area, my first target would be up here where we've been wicking into. I actually left one position open overnight from here that this actually wicked. It wicked into it. It closed me in profit overnight, which I don't have a problem doing on BitMEX because my limit orders normally don't get skipped by there. I've never had an issue with that like BitMEX does, so that's a big plus. Anyway, this would definitely the 618 level or just below it. I tend to send mine just below just so that I make sure it triggers. Market manipulators are very exact, and algos are very exact with where they want to hit targets with big money moves. So I normally set mine just below or just above. And with limit orders, I always put like .5 at the end of my order, so that it's got an additional 50 cents on there, so that it always triggers. And I always use an odd number as well. I never use even numbers. I never go, oh, I'm going to sell at 92.50 or something like that. It's an even number. I'll always do like 92.47 or 92.48.5 or something like that, just to make sure that they always trigger. I was getting a lot of questions about that in our Discord group, so hope that guys helps you out. But anyway, like I said, first target would probably be like 92.45, and then second target for me, I'd probably stay a little conservative just because we don't really know what's going on in this area. We haven't even tested this since way back here on the 29th, so like 4 days ago now. We haven't even tested this top middle trend line, so that's a little concerning for me. But my top target for a long would be pretty conservative, probably 93.78, around here, about the 887. Switching to the downside, if you were going to be shorting this, Again, very risky. You know, either play right now, very risky because we don't really know what's going to happen. Either way, definitely keep a stop loss very, very close. If you were going to be shorting, I would definitely say, hey, this is a good area, you know, to short anywhere between this 0.5 and this 382 line up here, laddering between, you know, 9200 and, you know, 9250, maybe even 9300. My targets for this, honestly, I'd probably have my first one down here at like just about 9,000, where we've been wicking into and using support. And I would definitely have a really tight stop on that. My stop would probably be up here at like 92.25, 93.25 or something. And I wouldn't even really have a second target for this because, I mean, if it breaks down, it breaks down. You know, you can always leave it open or use a trailing stop or something. So it's really up to you and your trade style. But honestly, right now, I'm not really going to be trading this. Volume tends to die off on the weekend anyway. Some people have been suggesting that because we've had such low volume during the week that we might see a move happen during the weekend, but I don't really see that happening. You know, a lot of people are going out. It's Halloween here, you know, Halloween weekend and stuff like that in the United States here. That's a pretty big deal. A lot of people, you know, celebrate that, myself included. I took my daughter Halloween trick-or-treating last night. She had a blast. It was her first Halloween. She dressed up like a pumpkin, and it was, you know, just precious. I loved that night. It was fantastic. But normally volume drops off on the weekend anyway, so this is a really, really risky area to be playing right now. I personally don't like to open up positions on Friday afternoons and leave them open during the weekends. I've gotten burned that way, especially on BitMEX. So if you guys are interested in trading on a better exchange such as Bybit, where you don't get order submission errors because the system overloads or anything like that, and stop limits get stopped by and waiting 24 hours to make withdrawals and shit like that, definitely register with my Bybit affiliate link down below. I know that I'm shilling an affiliate link, but the whole thing is that with that, instead of getting $10 as a bonus to sign up, you actually get $60 as a bonus to sign up with my link. So, you know, just something, you know, as a little, you know, thank you from the Bybit community and stuff like that. I'm not directly I'm not directly like working with them or anything like that. I just, you know, I support the exchange and I'm registered as an affiliate with them. So if you guys want to take a look at that, they do have a really nice interface. Some of it, you know, could be a little better. I would love to be able to see all of my orders in the positions section down below, but unfortunately, they haven't added that yet. It is something that I've heard that they are working on though. So stay tuned for that. Anything else that I need to talk about? I don't really think so. That's pretty much it here. There really isn't much going on. I'll keep my fingers crossed for 11K in the next couple months, and as usual, I will continue my updates on Monday and Friday, as well as Wednesday. I do updates in the Discord channel via text and just screenshots of charts and stuff like that. Stay tuned for my next video. All the links are down below. I also have a Patreon if you're interested in one-on-one education, as well as my my link to Bybit and all of that stuff, as well as edge.org. And that's the Discord group that I am most active in because that is where I am making calls, trade advice, and education and stuff like that. So feel free to check out those links down below. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up and let me know. If you did not like the video, give me a thumbs down and let me know what I can do better. And I hope everybody has a happy and safe weekend. Happy trading.